Okay. Um, I'm gonna continuously make the videos I need to make, and I'm gonna continuously to uh, talk about my testimonials, just like so many others have, because those testimonials that I've heard, especially specific ones that are very just detailed, have helped me put things in perspective. Um, I I just want to say I'm thankful for all of those, because it just, as much as they try to like make me think of how they're doing their best to try to escape and distance themselves from the testimonials I've heard. And who I say is they is the people targeting me, which obviously I know are related to these intelligence community entities. It is idiotic to think that this has nothing to do with these entities. It's idiotic, and I'm not gonna let them be this idiotic, even though they want me to be. This is 100% certain that there's the certainty that this is, of course, involving these entities is for sure. Now I understand they contract people, right? So the people doing this to me might not be directly tied to these entities, but they are contracted by these entities, and I understand that. I don't think that my neighbors in this apartment are really like directly employed by those entities, but I know they are contracted in certain ways, and there might be layers to it, but they are contracted by it. They're just the bottom feeders. That's why I call them bottom feeders, because I know they're just the nobodies. Wherever I will go in the world, this will follow me, right? I'm here. My neighbors, locals, most of them, there's obviously people who aren't living here now, and so they're gonna do their part, right? They're gonna do what they're supposed to do. If I go to another country, if I'm going to France, if I'm going to England, if I'm going to China, or wherever I'm gonna go, there's gonna be people like them doing this to me, because this is a global thing. This is something happening everywhere in the world, and is globally, and is governmental, and it is extremely sophisticated. I understand that. I'll never let them live the fantasy. If you ever, I don't know if it's still available, I can share that the TI Day 2020. I was in this video, and if you listen to that, you'll see how global this thing is. You want to hear testimonies from people in Malaysia, people in New Zealand, people in Japan, Korea, in Mexico, everywhere, in a lot of countries, going through the same thing. A lot of them are mostly Americans, though, but you're gonna hear a lot of global people, like people around the world, speaking different language, talking about what's happening to them, suffering. And this is what this program is about, is breaking people down for the purpose of this technology. So I know what I'm part, like I know what, as much as they try to create this different version, because target individuals, we have this facade, this psyop that's always implanted, like there's always a psyop of some sort, a facade to try to present themselves as something else. In the next video, you'll see why my psyop is such. I have this group of people who wants to be like, we're different kind of people, we're different type of perps. We don't torture, like they want to present themselves as we're using our different, the font we use is not involved in torturing women and children. We don't do that, right? Of course they do that. Of course, because this is run by the government. Some of this contracted trash doing this to me have done that to women and children. They know I know that. Definitely women, for sure. Women is, oh my gosh, probably some of them have more experience torturing women than men. But for sure, they have had this experience. But somehow they want to escape and make me see them in different fashion. They want me to look at that and normalize this way of doing things. just because they found ways to cope and normalize in their own little bubble, in their own psyche, I'm not going to let them live that fantasy. I know what they do to women. I know what they do to children. I know these people are involved in the same thing. Last night, what you're going to hear a lot about testimonies of target individuals is the dreams. Dreams are meant to break you down. Dreams are meant to condition you in different ways. Dreams are meant to train your brain in certain ways. Since this V2K thing started with me on August 19, 2019, I've been having disturbing dreams. Especially early on, it was the worst. But for example, to this morning, I just wake up. They made me have dreams, weird dreams. And in these dreams, they create narrations where these stimulations and pedophilia things they do to me are somehow implanted in those dreams. And they want me to be accepting of these things as if it's something happening to me naturally. I'll never subscribe to that. I'll wake up knowing there's perps right now breaking me down, try to make me subscribe to these pedophilia ways of thinking. And using these pedophilia ways of thinking, right, forcing me to think this way and try to make me identify it. That is their job. That's their assignment. And they were trying to, because I was praying and thanking God, and thanking God that I didn't have to live life the way they live. And they were trying to find a way to kind of break this down because they so want to differentiate themselves from the horrible things I've heard. The horrible things they've done to women and children. They do to the point where there was this guy who said he used to be a perp at some point, and he used to work for this security agency, and they would, be involved in that. So they obviously were contracted by some kind of entities, and they would do these things to people. And now he became a target individual, and they're like, you see, now we have different money. For us, it's different. It's like you lying piece of S. Sorry, it's hard for me to not curse, because they want to be like, we are using our contracted agencies organization does not torture women and children. We're different. They are clowns. No, you are bottom feeders for a program that torture children and women. If you have a contract, if they're contracted to torture children or women, they will do it. If I had children, they will torture my child. If I had a wife and it was actually my wife, they will torture my wife. That's what they do. I don't know why they think I'm going to let them live their fantasy. This literally, and they think that their gender is what's going to make me subscribe to it. This women literally saying there's a lot of females involved in this V2K. In New York, there's the testimony of this woman who lives in New York who was targeted. She doesn't get the V2K, but she gets the radiations and everything. She used to get toasted. I don't know if it's still happening to her, but she came to this place in New York City, in Manhattan. And there was this National Women Organization. And she comes there, right? Of course, all these entities are part of it. They can be obviously infiltrated or involved. And she goes into this organization. And she says, this is happening to me, and there's a high percentage of people, a high percentage of women, and there's a high percentage of target individuals who are women. Oh, they're like, oh yeah, we don't deal with that. Here's a brochure. Go to Planned Parenthood or something like that. Dismissed her really quickly because they're involved in these things. They know what they're part. They know. So this facade and psyops is it's delusional. I know what you guys do to women. I know how nasty you guys are. I know how unfair you guys are. Even 3-week-old babies. I know. If I had an infant child, they will do horrible things to that child. As a targeted individual, the whole close family, if they're not participating, they will be tortured. And it's funny because me, I can trace where it all started. I know who put me in this program. In the next video, I'll address that. But it was clear to me that these people had some kind of connection to the CIA. I mean, I didn't at the time. I didn't understand why this point was said. Why would somebody say that just randomly? But now I understand because of this. Because at some point I'll be in this program, and this person clearly looked at me. He's like, "Oh, I know the CIA." I was like, "Well, okay, good for you." Like, what does it have to do with anything that we're talking about? It was just like extremely random, and I'm like, okay, well, now I understand what he was trying to say. It's because they put me in this program where these entities, including the CIA, are involved, because this is a human, not experimentation, but we are a human subject in developing a technology. It's one of many samples, and I know that's what they do. So as I'm dying, like they say, like many others are dying this way. Like that woman that was, in Florida, living in her car, says in the TID she's dying. I'd rather be saying the things that they don't want to hear, because they want to escape, not with me. And they're using all kind of people, right? Intellectuals, progressive. It's like all kind of psyops. I can never let them live their fantasy. It's horrible. It's nasty. I know they torture women. I know they torture children. It's so disturbing. All of that. I know that these people doing this thing to me would do that to a woman if a woman was living here, who's a target individual. And so when they train your brain in this fashion and try to make you accept these things, like, never. I know that's the peripheral things that you do. This is why I make these videos. And I know that these people doing this to me are not this group of like using their money. No, this is the government money. This is governmental entities that are running this show. You guys are just the bottom feeders contracted to do these things. Whatever layers in separation you guys have between, you're just the bottom feeders in this. I understand that's what you're trying to say. But the people running the show are truly these entities. And these people, this contracted trash that are doing this thing to me, some of them have done it to even women and children. I will never let them live their fantasy. And in my mind, they try to create ways of thinking, but maybe we're like a security agency that just specializes in trash. You specialize in torturing people and tormenting people in these ways, including women and children. And you have tactics that are systematically in protocol. It's not my next door neighbor who's running the show here. It's not this femme fatale sounding, no. It's entities where there's foul pedophiles in this program. I'm talking about entities that are, sorry, they try to twist it because they want me to be their pedophile. Well, this entity is running the show off the pedos. Sorry, let me repeat that better. They have this way of projecting reality. They want me to be their pedophile, because they do these things where they manipulate your brain in these pedophilia ways, right? And so they like to call me like, oh, you're a pedo. But thankfully for this article, not only, obviously, I've been validated they do the pedophilia type of torture. Not only I've been validated that they manipulate people to think in these pedophilia ways systematically. This is something they do protocolly. I don't know if it's a word, but in a systematic way. So they use the same tactics over and over, which the pedophilia type of torture is used. And I've shown enough validation of that. But as they try to also make me identify with this, because this article has exposed the pedophilia issues in these agencies, and CIA with people raping children or doing things to children, 2-3-year-olds, and other entities such as DARPA, with people downloading child porn on the computers, They are trying to change things around. It's like, no, you are the pedo. Well, the reality is, it makes them the bottom feeders for these entities filled with pedophiles. And they know that. And the matter of fact, when they say, "Oh, you are a pedo," somebody went and make some noise campaign to try to make me accept these things. I was like, "You just wishful trash. You work for your pedos. Your pedos are your gods. Your pedos are the people empowering you to be gods." And it's fair because the humiliation of that is beyond. And so they use these childlike individuals to try to agitate me. So, oh, it's not fair. It's like, it's very fair. So how do you think I'm going to see you now? And now they try to change agencies. Everything but CIA. CIA is not involved in this. And so they use the scripts those entities have created, not created, but established to try to counter that. And you hear this child like, people, oh, not fair, it's you, not you, you were not going through like scripts, which are repetitive terms and phrases they use to try to disorient you. Typical CIA torture tactic. And so for me, it's clear that they just want to disorient me and somehow create this facade that I'm not letting them escape. That's why you're going to see another video that's going to put things in perspective. So stay strong, target individuals. Know that, first of all, do not believe whatever psyops these people are trying to create. The psyops in regard who they want you to be, the psyop in regard of how they try to present themselves. It's a facade. They are contracted to do these things. They do these things to even people more vulnerable than you. Much more vulnerable than you. So find strength in that. If they can do that to women and children, you as you know, who are you to not be able to, like, that it gave me, like, I remember Target individual said this thing, and I remember it makes a lot of sense. It's like, who am I to not be tortured this way when they can do this to women and children? Right? They are capable of doing these things to women and children. They torture women and children in these ways. So who am I for me to be like, oh, it's not fair, it's why are they doing this to me, when they are here torturing women and children? So I don't think that, like, I'm unlucky. It's like, no, it's just they can do that to children and women. Why can they not do that to me? So I find strength in that. And I hope my videos are clear. It's hard to speak, and I know that soon I won't be able to speak. As I speak right now, I can feel myself like almost losing conscious. Like, I feel a strong pulse here in my brain, and it's hard for me to speak. So I don't know how many more I can make, but I'll make as many as I need to, because once my brain is so gone that I can never ever put things in perspective. I just want to feel comfortable that I've made enough videos to make sure that I never subscribe to this fantasy they've tried to project, to present, and the psyop they try to maintain. Death comes to all of us. This death is such a dignified death, regardless of the sufferings. I couldn't be living like this low life, contracted trash. But these entities filled with pedophiles. So stay strong.